Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. This morning, I woke up with a start. It was a dream I've had many times before. It had to do with my love of sweaters and the fact that I cross-dress. Most of the time, however, the clarity got worse as the day went on. Even though I was in the middle of my workday, I couldn't stop thinking about how alive Angora and mohair looked. In my dream, I was in a yarn store, and it seemed like the yarn was alive in some way. It was wrapping itself around my body in different places, like a vine does around a tree. I couldn't figure out why or how, though. I was done with work for the day, and it was also Friday. I was going to have a nice, quiet, girly weekend. I was going to pick up a beautiful new mohair sweater that a woman who made very soft and unique sweaters had made just for me. I was going to go home, put on my new sweater, and get ready for a nice, quiet evening. I was going to try to look as girly as possible. I was right on time when I got to Lisa's house. I knocked on the door because I remembered that she had asked me to look at the lock on her front door. She said that if I could fix it, she would lower the price of my sweater a little. She had trouble getting the door open. I said hello, and she invited me in. She asked if I could fix the front door lock right away. I said it wasn't a big deal. I went and got some tools and started working on it. While I was on my knees taking the lock off, my eyes were wandering. It was hard to keep doing what I needed to do. Everyone was wearing soft, fuzzy sweaters, and in all shapes and colors from short and white to long and red. Lisa came back in and saw me looking around. She told me that my sweater was ready and asked how her door lock was. I told her it was just a spring and easy to fix. I put it back together after fixing it. Something caught my eye as I was putting away my tools. I jumped up because I thought it was a snake. When I looked closely, I saw that it was just a knitting basket with a thick piece of yarn hanging out of it. It was mohair and red. I just couldn't help it. I put out my hand and touched it. Then, to my surprise, it just barely moved. I thought it was just me and that maybe it had just been a hard day. When I tried to push it back into the knitting basket, it pushed back. I quickly let go of it and stood up. This was so strange. I got my tools out of my truck and put them back in. Lisa was standing there with my sweater when I got back into the house. She asked me to put it on so she could see how well it fit. I thought this was a little strange, but I agreed. She told me I could sleep in her room and led me there. I took off my shirt and turned around, feeling a little self-conscious because I was overweight. She was still there. Even after she gave me the sweater, she didn't leave the room. I then went ahead and put it on. It felt great. I saw that it was a thick, tightly woven sweater, long sleeves, a turtleneck with a high neckline, and a very long body. It could have been worn as a dress by someone shorter. She walked around me and pulled and tugged in different places. She knew I was a cross-dresser and asked me if I wanted to try on more girl clothes. Sure, why not? She went to get her things and brought back a skirt that she also made. It would give me a better idea of how the outfit would look, and if I liked the skirt, she would give me a deal on it. While she stood there, I took off my pants, shoes, and socks. Then I reached for my floor-length skirt, which was as thick as my sweater. I put my feet in the soft, fuzzy skirt and pulled it up around my waist. It was pure bliss. At this point, my brain was mush. Lisa asked me to go for a short walk. Every time I took a step, I could feel it. It felt great. She asked if I wanted some coffee while we figured out how much I owed her. We went into the living room and took a seat. She made the coffee and told me she wanted to show me something. She got up, went to where her knitting kit was, and brought it over to where I was sitting on the couch. She put the knitting between us and sat down. She looked in the bag and said some words that sounded like Latin, but I didn't know. Before I could stop it, the red mohair yarn started to wind its way out of the knitting bag and onto my lap. I saw that it was made of the same yarn as my new sweater and skirt. I had no way to move. I was stunned. I then put out a hand to touch it. It started to move up my arm and around my hand. It happened so quickly that I couldn't do anything. It got wrapped around my head and neck. Then my other arm and body, it got into my new sweater and skirt and made a cocoon of mohair around me. I was looking through a hole in the threads that were wrapped around my head. I saw Lisa smiling at me. She then told me she was a witch and had been working on this enchanted mohair for a while. She knew that she could do her experiment best with me. She needed a crossdresser who could be so overcome with emotions that the subject would transfer these emotions to her enchanted mohair yarn. The mohair would then feed on the subject, stick to them, and grow into them. Once the mohair was attached, it would change into whatever shape the person wanted. She didn't know how long it would take the subject to figure out how to control it, which was the only problem. Until then, the person would be in charge of the mohair, becoming whatever the person was thinking at the time. I was about to say something, but as soon as I opened my mouth, I thought about how the mohair would taste. The yarn went into my mouth and went around my tongue. I couldn't talk anymore because my mouth was full of mohair yarn. This stuff really came to life and scared me. Lisa told me to take charge of my thoughts and mental pictures. I tried to pay attention to her voice as I listened to it. She told me to clear out my thoughts. I did my best to do this. As I did it, I could feel the mohair loosen. Then she told me to imagine my mouth being clear and empty. As she spoke, I could feel the mohair yarn leave my mouth and move away from my face. I looked like I had a turtleneck now. Lisa began to tell me what a great present this was. Just by thinking about it, I could be wearing any kind of mohair clothing I wanted. But it did require self-discipline. I was getting drunk without even moving. I couldn't handle it all. My mind was going crazy, and I had no idea what to do. So quickly did my dreams start to come to me that I thought I was going to pass out. Then I thought about how relaxing it would be to just be mummified in a mohair cocoon. Then it took place. After it got dark, I couldn't move. I could still feel it wrapping around me until it was all around me. I didn't know what the outside looked like, but the inside was nice and relaxing. My mind began to settle down. Lisa asked if I was okay. I said yes, in a low voice. She told me I should try to keep my thoughts in check. If I was in a mohair cocoon, how could I do anything? After about 10 minutes, I felt myself getting hot. I was thinking about taking a break. All at once, I could move my legs and see again. I thought about how I was dressed and why I was here. I was able to get up and move around. Lisa told me to look at myself in the mirror to see how I had changed. It was wonderful. My beautiful red mohair sweater was back, but it was now a dress that went all the way to the floor. Lisa told me to keep thinking that way and try not to daydream until I got home. She told me I couldn't take off the sweater until I was sure I wanted to. I gave her the money for the magical sweater and went home. I had to take the sweater home with me because I couldn't stand to be without it, and it knew what I wanted. When I got home, I sat down on the couch to rest. I thought a lot about how badly I needed a bath. Once I was sure I could feel the sweater's grip getting weaker, I was able to take it off. I put it on my bed and went to take a bath. As I lay there in the fragrant water, my mind began to think about what the gift I had been given could mean. I could turn it into any dress I want, any skirt I want, any sweater I want. Time to get dressed up and be girly. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.